if we don't have self-boundaries, what happens is that we tend to take the boundary back. So today, what I want to talk is about self-boundaries. What is that? Why is that different from boundaries? If you want to set boundaries to other people, if you want to tell to other people what are your boundaries, first you have to internalize them. First, you have to explain to yourself what it is that I like, what it is that I don't like, why is that important, and why I'm implementing that. So, self boundaries is what it is that we want and we like about our own life, and we want to keep it, and we want to actually explain it to other people that this is what they need to respect. There is a course about boundaries, and it's called Setting Boundaries, Taking Control of Your Life, and it's in the academy. And you will see in the course how many different self boundaries we have. We're talking about time boundaries and physical boundaries and sexual boundaries and material boundaries and mental boundaries. So we have different examples of personal self boundaries. It takes a little bit of work in order for us to define what are these boundaries for us. To give you an example, if you visit your family and then you have all these people touching your cheeks and hugging you and touching you in a way that you don't like, that's you first who needs to set this self boundary for yourself. What it is that I like about all this touching and hugging and physical touch. What it is that I don't like. What is my boundary that I'm going to set? If you don't realize it for yourself, if you don't set this boundary, how would others know? How would others know that this is important for you? And how would others know that you're serious about that? Because if we don't have self boundaries, what happens is that we tend to take the boundary back. So, you have somebody, touching your cheeks and, like, oh, hugging you and kissing you and in a way that you don't like. But then you just cringe or you're like, okay, enough, enough, enough. And then just because they kind of see that you're trying to set a boundary, but they're not very sure, it's very possible that they will come back with like, oh, come on, don't be weird. Don't be like that. It's just me expressing my love to you. And then just because it's not so obvious to you or it's not so clear why I'm setting this boundary and why is it important for me, you tend to take it back and you're like, okay. That's you abandoning your boundaries, your needs, your feelings. Self boundaries are important so that we can have the interaction and the relationship we want with other people. Otherwise, it's going to fall and it's going to go back into this imbalance that we had before. So, of course, it's not only about relationships with family or personal relationships, it can be also about work. So, setting boundaries is simply about communicating our needs and first realizing what our needs are. It's not easy, definitely. That's why I said we need to spend a little bit of time so that we can understand what are these boundaries. Once we establish that, it's very easy. And by establishing, you're going to see the steps in the course. It means that you need to figure out what it is that I need and why it's important and how my life looks like when I don't have this need met or when people are crossing this boundary. You have to make it very specific. And of course, using the values that we also explain in the course. So, another thing that I would like to say is that boundaries that you set with yourself is anything that you think as important, even though people are not around. Like, for example, if you say that I would like to go vegetarian and I would like to abstain from meat, or I would like to lower my meat consumption and slowly become a vegetarian. That's a boundary you set for yourself for your own reasons, all right? But then, even though nobody's watching, even though it's not about relationships with other people, what do you do in order to maintain this boundary? So, if, for example, you get hungry and you're thinking, shall I get pizza with salami? Ah, I don't know. And then you get it. That's you crossing your self boundaries. So it is a whole new experience of setting boundaries for yourself, realizing what's important and how I'm going to maintain these boundaries, even though nobody's watching, even though it's not about other people, but what I want. So it can be about what food to eat, how you're going to spend your money. It can be about how much you're going to work. It can be how much you're going to see your friends and how much you're going to rest. It's about how often you're going to check your social media. It's about how you're going to take care of your health and how often you're going to have health checkups, how much coffee you drink and how much tea you drink. It's about how often you're going to answer to work emails or any emails, or what is the time that you say for this kind of task, how you're going to talk about other people, whether you're going to gossip, whether you're going to talk behind your back, or whether you're going to maintain that and not get into this gossiping and talking about other people. That's your self boundaries. And it's not necessarily something that you will go and say to other people. It's your own rules of living the life that you want and living the life in the standard that you want, becoming the person you want to be. Yes, it's about personal development, it's about personal leadership. How am I going to be the leader of my life? I need to set some self boundaries first. So, that was it for today. How important self boundaries are and what we need in order to set these boundaries. Check the Academy link so that you can see many courses on relationships and, of course, boundaries. Thank you very much for watching today. I'm looking forward to reading your comments, your questions in the comments area. Have a nice day. Take good care of yourselves and take good care of your boundaries. Bye bye.